The L566 is one of the smaller Liebherr wheel loaders, weighing in at just under 18 tonnes. This model of it by Conrad comes in a fairly small Liebherr branded box with a nice photo of the machine on the cover. But as is so often the case, there's no information about the real machine. Inside the box, the model has protection from shipping damage, which is provided by the foam rubber. And in addition to the model, there are some bags containing parts, and we'll see those later. To get the model ready for display out of the box is only one thing to do, and that's to fit a couple of small plastic mirrors. And to fit these to the machine, it's best to rotate it using a gigantic hand. The fixing point for the mirrors just press upwards into the underside of the roof. It takes a little bit of pressure to push them in, but that's a good thing because it means they'll stay in place and they won't drop out onto the floor where they get sucked up by your hoover. The detail on the underside looks good because the axles are fully modelled and the big tyres have a decent convincing tread pattern. They are mounted on reasonable plastic wheels which have a good colour match with the other grey parts. And looking at the pivot point, the ram steering pistons are visible, so is the drive shaft. The steps and walkways have textured surfaces and the metal handrails are really good, they look realistically thin. The cab has a realistic look with silvered lights and metal grab rails, and individual controls are visible inside. An excellent detail is the metal mesh grille on the engine cover, and an outline of the engine is visible through the grille. Another very nice touch is the soft plastic edging on the wheel arch. At the rear there are more convincing details. The metal exhaust pipe has a hole, there's a video camera, and the lights and graphics look very good. At the front, the plastic wheel arches have wheel chocks and soft mud flaps. The industrial lift arm looks good, but there are no hydraulic hoses. 3 tools are provided with the model. There's a loading bucket, a fork carrier and forks, and a log grapple. The parts are all metal and good quality. This is a CranesEtcTV safety advisory. When going skiing on company time, always use ski poles. So it's out onto the test arena with the L556, and it certainly gives a nice smooth ride to the operator. Each of the wheels turns independently, which is always the best way, and the rear axle has got a nicely engineered up and down movement. The model steers across the pivot point, but it's a bit unusual because it seems that the pistons don't actually have any cylinder jackets because it's very loose. It doesn't affect the model visually, but it does mean it's very easy to steer it and push it. The steering angle is also pretty good. Moving on to the industrial lift arm, and here the loading bucket is fitted. It grounds very well and it also tilts back nicely into the carry position. The overall height that the industrial lift arm can reach is also very good, and the bucket is able to reach well above the height of the cab. But what good's a loaded shovel if you can't empty it? And fortunately that's no problem with this model because the tipping angle is excellent. So let's quickly move along to the genuine imitation real life test. And once again our expert driver is seen doing his stuff, and there's no problem at all raising the bucket high enough to discharge into a road truck. Just feast your eyes on that last bit of skill as the operator empties his bucket. One display option a model like this gives is to show it on a suitable piece of road transport. So here we have a Goldhofer trailer trundling up to take the L556 on its merry way. This wheel loader isn't the biggest machine, so there's plenty of space for it on the trailer, and there's plenty of room also for the additional tools. Once everything's on board, the truck can drive off and do a full circuit of the dining room table. But there's more. One of the very good features of this model is that it comes with interchangeable tools, and it's quick and easy to change them over because they just unclip from the plate at the front, and in this case we'll clip on the log grapple in place of the bucket. Once it's fixed, it's also a nicely functional part, and that's because it can be opened up with the 2 hydraulic rams controlling it. They are stiff, but they will hold any pose that you set. So that gives us an excuse for another genuine imitation real life test. Here you can see the loading of the logs into the grapple, and the loading is assisted by the largest lumberjack recorded in the modern era. With the logs firmly gripped in the grapple, it can be raised and then driven away. But wait, there's even more! The third option that's available is to fit the fork carrier and forks. They come as separate parts, so it's best to pre-assemble those, and you just feed the forks onto the centre of the fork carrier and slide them to the end. The whole assembly can then be clipped on to the front of the wheel loader. It's the same attachment mechanism, it hooks over the top and clips into place at the bottom. So once again we have another genuine imitation real life test, and the forks are being used to pick up a pallet, but be aware the pallet isn't included with the model. To summarise, this is a very nicely executed wheel loader model by Conrad. The details are very good and the functionality is faithful to the real machine. It's also really nice that a variety of tools are supplied with the model. This is a very easy model to highly recommend.